So thanks for coming back. We've got an excellent lineup today. I'm just going to start the day with a few reflections because in my practice, I get my clients to reflect quite seriously. I take it very seriously. It's something that's got into education. And yeah, I'll just get them writing food diaries, but have an extra column saying, okay, reflection, what caused that low energy or change of mood or your diarrhea or whatever. So it's just trying to connect what you're doing in your daily life with your outcome. And I feel very strongly us as practitioners need to also do that reflective practice. So I'm going to be very brave and just start with my own reflection for the month, and then go through a few sort of reflections from the last year, some topical things. So I've had a really hard month, health-wise, because I've got two tiny little kids that just keep bringing things to me. Been overworking. I got my wisdom tooth out. Yeah, so I was ill, and then the final straw was throwing tea on my laptop, and then, that throws you out in a spin because you lose your laptop for a few days. And then my dog ate my PowerPoint presentation, so it's like, all right, so that was the only bit that wasn't true. But yeah, I was ill for like 2.5 weeks straight. And I'm like, okay, how do I get myself out of this? Just working. So I woke up about a week ago, said, right, I'm going to get better today. And so I went to a yoga session in the morning. That was good, got the energy going. Took my little boy down to the market. We ate some Indian dosas, and that was cool, interacting with him. And then, just had a positive intention that day to be better. And I refocused on what I like, which is education, which is not all the admin around the education and invoicing clients and all that stuff you get dragged down on. And by the end of the day, I was better. Health picked up. So first reflection for me is state of mind is so important. And it's really, really important to practice self-reflection for you and also impart that on your clients. The second thing, just mentioning the yoga, exercise is good for you, but you have to have all the bits in the middle for it to be good for you. It has to be the right type, the right amount, the right timing. So when you're down and out, a nice flowy yoga class is perhaps what works for you as opposed to a long, hard run. And I think in this day and age, in London, it seems to be mirroring Johannesburg with these stressed execs who are like working their ass off all day and then training for the Ironman. It's like just, what are you doing to your body? So exercise, us as educators, we need to actually guide people to find the yin and the yang, get the balance. And I would like you I want to warm you up a little bit. And wake you up. So can everyone just stand, and I'm going to give you a little exercise routine where you don't have to move too much. So you might whack your neighbor, but you don't have to move. Okay, so this is a little opening yoga sequence, which gets the spine moving in every single direction. So just follow me. If you can bend down, great. If you can't, just partially. Okay, so hands together, toes together. So we're starting with a bit of grounding, okay, and then just follow the flow. I'll delay so we catch up. And up on your toes. Well, there goes some water. All right, forward flexion as far as you can. Extension, up on your toes if you're happy with that. You can go down if you want. And I'll lose my balance. Up. Okay, and then we're going to go for a side bend. And then we'll do a bit of Tai Chi. And then the other way. Okay. And then to the middle. Flex back just to get the shoulder blades. And then rotate. Push out. And then back. in the middle, rotate the other way, and back. Okay. And you don't have space to do that, so you can sit down. Okay, so that was about a minute of movement, but you got every single movement the spine makes. Extension, flexion, side bend, rotation. So it's a little sequence I do if I just need to, hey, okay, I've been just working too much to get me out of that. So exercise is good for us, but we need to choose the right type at the right time. All right, I'm going to go into some headlines. My pet hate is stupid headlines. Okay, so will the paleo diet make you fat? So this is a new research study saying, okay, the paleo diet is going to make you fat. If you read below, they're kind of talking about, high fat, low carb, and in the perception of the researchers, yeah, that will make you fat. The paleo diet is actually something I quite like, but it's just been spun off in so many different directions that it's become ridiculous. So, is it really going to make you fat? Are vegetarians going to get cancer? Well, any vegetarians in the room? Yeah, a few. I'm sorry for you guys. New research. Come on, guys. It's just absolutely ridiculous what headlines are coming up. This is talking about genetic mutations from long-term vegetarianism. So yeah, maybe a population that carries on for many generations. Maybe, but if you're a vegetarian for 10 years, I think you might not be succumbing just the same. Okay, fast food. This is off PubMed. Fast food is as good for you as sports nutrition supplements for recovery. It's like, okay. If the sports nutrition looks like this, I probably agree. But this is what this education's about. It's real food. We're talking, so many nutritional therapists in the audience. Real food doesn't constitute as powders. We need to actually start working through that. And I've seen in the FSN magazine over the last 5 years a massive shift in the types of products coming through. And there's some guys upstairs with new products that are really quite nice, with some real ingredients in it. What you'd term superfoods, really good. So my post-exercise nutrition is to make a smoothie. Scoop of whey isolate, some kefir, which we make ourselves, some fruit, a couple of different fruits, berries, a couple of scoops of different superfoods, some nuts, some raw honey, and off we go. And that's post-exercise nutrition to me, not McDonald's or KFC. So reflection 3, look past the headlines and actually, kind of wake up a bit. And, help your clients. They're dazzled by headlines, some of them. Us as practitioners, a lot of us are dazzled by science. And I always use inverted commas for science, because science is a fluid thing. But with likes of our dear Professor Noakes at the moment, it's becoming too isolated. So I don't know if this is reaching British shores, but Tim Noakes, he's a guru sports scientist. I've always looked up to him. I have met him on a few occasions. He wrote The Lore of Running, which is just a Bible for runners. He wrote Challenging Beliefs. So as a scientist, he's been amazing. But it was about 3 years ago, he went on a high-fat, low-carb diet, and it had great results for him weight-wise. He got his colleague on it, who I also know, and he had great results. So now he's mapped it out to the entire country and kind of world. And he's ended up in court because he advised via Twitter that a mother should be feeding her baby the Banting diet. So the Banting is kind of like a rehash of Atkins, but they focus more on the fat and less on the protein. But still, last year, the year before, every second person that came into my clinic was on the Banting diet. Some did really well. Others, I don't understand it, my cholesterol's gone up, but Tim Noakes says it should go down. And I've put weight on and my low energy. I'm like, okay, individuality perhaps. It was 2001 that we were playing around with Atkins diet in London. And it's, we learned our lessons then that, yes, some people do really well, some people do really badly, some people are mediocre. So you have to find that kind of fine line. So, where's the screen gone? This should be black, so it's a black screen. And then it's white. But this is my favorite. So, shades of gray. And it's more than 50, because we have more than 50 people on this earth. There's more than 50 people in this room. So we need to think n equals 1 for that person that's in front of us. And yes, play around with diets and so on, but you have to look beyond what the scientists say. And this is just my representation of kind of the black and white. So this is like the old Noakes. He was in the sports dietetic paradigm. It was high carb, low fat. He's now low carb, high fat. So he's gone full pendulum. He's now moderating a little bit under extreme pressure from the dietitians in South Africa. And I've just kind of like put a few other things in there. So Mediterranean, it's quite a nice balanced approach. I use it a lot. Paleo, shifting a bit more on towards the low carb. Vegetarian, vegan, I wasn't sure exactly where to put it. Maybe vegan should be more over this way. But yeah, we're all somewhere on that scale. And it's our life's journey to figure out where we are on that scale. And then it's our life purpose as educators to actually help our clients find out where they are on that scale. So when this came out just last week, this is a young sports scientist. He's in his 30s. He's an ex-student of Prof. Noakes called Ross Tucker. And this is his blog. He wrote a really nice response to the craziness that's happening in nutrition at the moment. So this is just a quote I pulled out from it. If our intentions are genuine and we want the best possible outcome for the highest possible number of people, we'll see that some people benefit from X and others from Y. If we are rigid and defensive, and if we own our own position too strongly, then we make it less likely that this will ever happen. So that's unfortunately what scientists do. They have their theories, and they defend their theories. It's like if you've ever done NLP, we talk about filters. So the scientists will filter out the stuff that they want to see and filter away the stuff that they don't want to see. But this is a young guy who's just got a brilliant mind. So I'd love to bring him over here sometime and speak to you guys. So this is just another quote from here. Knowledge changes, but sound thinking, logic, and common sense do not. And so we have a responsibility to push back against hypocritical, narrow, and incomplete debating methods more than the actual content. So he's not saying the high carb, low fat's wrong. He's just saying the way it's been debated is wrong. It should be a lot more fluid and flexible and adjusting to others' beliefs. And then he quoted Sir Roger Bannister. The human body is centuries in advance of the physiologists and can perform an integration of heart, lung, and muscles, which is too complex for the scientists to analyze. And I thoroughly believe that. We're getting better and better at analyzing, but we're going deeper and deeper into the human body as well. So we need to be able to chunk up and look at the whole picture and chunk down and get the detail and then put the two together. So some nice quotes. So reflection 4, be a good scientist and a philosopher. So the philosopher brings in the intuition and the reflection and the ability to make common sense out of things. Okay, some questions for you. Is carbohydrate a food? Is fat a food? Is protein a food? Why am I asking you that? What do you think? Are these foods? Anyone? I think they're nutrients within foods. So when you get people giving you a table of, hey, high carbs that you should avoid, it's almost like, beetroot and bread are the same thing. They're both in the no table of Tim Noakes's book. Well, yeah, bread I can see. Some people shouldn't be eating bread because it just makes them bloated and affects their digestion and their immune system. But beetroot, Andy Jones might argue with that. He's the guy that kind of started the beetroot juice research. Okay, just hands up again who's a nutritionally orientated person in the room. Okay, so most of you. Hands up if you've seen this before. No one. Okay, so something I believe is that we should actually learn a little bit of agriculture when we learn nutrition. And it's my latest passion. This is called a refractometer. I'm going to be sharing it with you guys in the exercise room later. And you just squeeze a bit of a vegetable or a fruit onto the lens and it reflects the light. And the more sweetness content of that produce, the higher the reading. So there's something called Brix charts, which basically tell you how good is that bit of food based on, bad up to excellent sort of scale. So our athletes, do we just send them into Tesco's to get any old, food? Or do we actually start using farmers markets and locally seasonal, organic kind of produce? Because, yeah, they might spend 20% more, but I would argue in most cases they get more than 20% more nutritional intake from that food. So that brings me to my next reflection. Think about the quality of the food before the quantity. So nutrition, and especially sports nutrition, is clouded by quantity. Calories, grams of fats, grams of protein, grams of, fat. So think about the food first. 100 years ago, when we didn't look at calories, is somebody going to wander into a market and say, how many grams of carbs is in that apple? Now they're going to pick it up and feel it and maybe smell it, and they'll get a sense for the freshness, and that will tell them how nutritious that's going to be for their body. They're using gut instinct. We've lost this capacity. So if we can combine all the modern science with our gut instinct and intuition and philosophizing, we can be a good educator. So that's my final reflection. And those of you who know me know I'm terrible at promoting myself, but Target, obviously for my years of hard service, have said I can mention my book, which is on sale upstairs. So I'm just going to finish by telling you a couple of things about that. It was 2 years ago in South Africa, and banting, the Tim Noakes thing, was at its fullest. And there's a lovely Afrikaans phrase called "gatvul." I was hurtful to hear with banting. It was coming out of my ears. So I'm like, okay, we need just some basic education. So that's why I wrote this book. I brought in my fiancée, Rachel Jessen, who is passionate about food. And that's why I'm now talking about sourcing food and quality of food, because I get that from her. So it's published in South Africa, but I've got excess luggage, so I've got like 80 books I brought over here. It's going on ebook sometime soon, but we don't know yet. It's already getting some good reads. Anyone recognize that funny man? Be Pete Williams from previous years. He's having a year off and just having a lazy morning today. This is kind of the concepts of it. Individuality, the biggest puzzle piece, and then mindfulness, wholesome living and food and so on, and nourishing food. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get across. It's the basics. It's not highfalutin stuff. It's just trying to share my passions in education. So that's the chapters. First one, individuality, because I believe strongly in it. Second one, beyond calories. Calories in, calories out. I stood up here 2-3 years ago on this stage and said, calories in and out versus well, as a measure of weight management, is archaic and should be flushed down the toilet. So that was the words I used, and I still strongly believe that. There's an element of use for it, but there's much, much more complexity, just as Roger Bannister said about the human body. We need to understand all the bits and pieces. So I won't bore you with all of it. I put 2 in red. They're the chapters that Rachel did, and in my mind, for the general population, they're the most important 2 chapters. So chapter 7, soil to plate, farming practices. It's actually uncovering all the stuff we just naively just buy this food and that food, and it's just a slab of meat, or it's just a packet of lettuce. Where's it come from? What's it got on it? What's it going to do to your body? These are all the questions we should be asking. Getting our refractometer out and squeezing and sort of working out, okay, that market's better than this, or actually this seasonality is affecting. And then the last one, recipes. It's like, okay, it's simple. It's not, I call it student recipes. Some of them are a bit more complicated. But good nutrition is not complicated. It's getting the right ingredients, putting it together simply, not burning the crap out of it, not going the other way and saying, okay, it has to be 100% raw, because you'll probably die in the winter. It's just getting a good balance. So that's my book. And most of you have seen this before. It's kind of the pyramid I've used to represent functional sports nutrition, with functional nutrition for health on the base, the sort of dietetic practice of nutrition in the middle, and then supplements at the top. That's the kind of cherry on the top, the leverage that we might have. But I've added an extra layer this year. So seasonal, organic, nature-made food, I believe very strongly in that. And it's the most simple element of nutrition we can possibly consider. Okay, so that's me. We're going to, without further ado, get our next speaker up.